Okay, so in this question, we are given an equation that says q minus a divided by b, take away q plus c divided by d equals e. And what we have to do is we have to find the value of the unknown variable. So we are also given this information here. We're told that a is equal to 20. So wherever we see an a, we're going to replace it with 20. B is equal to negative 7. So where we see the b, we're going to replace it with negative 7. C is equal to negative 2. D is equal to 3. And E is equal to, E is equal to negative 12. And what we're trying to find here is we're trying to find the value of Q. We want to figure out what Q is equal to. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to replace each variable with the value of that variable. So we don't know Q, so we're going to leave that as Q. And we know that it's going to be Q take away 20, since A is 20, divided by negative 7, since B is negative 7. Take away, again, we don't know Q, that's what we're trying to figure out. Q plus C, which is negative 2, divided by D. D is equal to 3, so I'm going to put divided by 3. And then all of that is equal to E, which is negative 12. Okay, so does everyone understand the first step? All we're doing is we are substituting our variables for the values that we are given here. Okay, so now we need to figure out how to isolate our unknown variable. We are trying to solve for Q. By the end of this, we want to know what Q is equal to. We're trying to get this Q by itself. So let's look at this equation here. We have something, take away something. Now, both of these somethings are fractions. When you're subtracting fractions, you want to find a common denominator, right? So the first thing we want to do is let's figure out what is the common denominator between negative 7 and positive 3. Okay, so take a minute to think about that. Well, I know that 7 times 3 is 21, so I'm going to find a common denominator of positive 21. Now, to get 21, I would have to multiply this by negative 3. Remember, to find a common denominator, if we're changing the fraction and we're multiplying the denominator by negative 3, I have to multiply the numerator by negative 3. But I'm actually multiplying everything in the numerator by negative 3. So I'm multiplying the q by negative 3, so it would be negative 3q. And I'm multiplying the negative 20 by negative 3, which would be positive 60. Okay, and all of that is over 21. Now for the second fraction, I would multiply this by 7 to get a common denominator of 21. Again, if I multiply the denominator by 7, I have to multiply the numerator by 7, but I have to multiply everything by 7. So 7 times q is 7q, and then 7 times negative 2 would be negative 14, okay? But what we're doing here is we are subtracting. We're subtracting this from that. Okay, so don't forget what we learned in the last chapter. When you're subtracting, what's going to happen eventually to this sign? When you're taking away a negative, eventually it's going to become a positive. So don't forget that. Okay, and all of that is equal to negative 12. We haven't done anything to the right side of our equation. This is our left side, just like we've been learning. Okay, so I'm actually going to rewrite this as negative 3q plus 60. Take away the 7q, and then taking away the negative 14 would be plus 14. All of that is over 21, and I'm going to make that equal to negative 12. Now, let's think back to our opposite operations. A fraction means divided by 21. I want to get rid of that fraction. What's the opposite of dividing something by 21? That would be multiplying it by 21, right? That undoes the operation. 21 divided by 21 reduces to 1. So I've actually just gotten rid of that. But I can't just multiply the left side by 21. I have to do the same thing on the right side. Okay, so I'm going to multiply that by 21. So let's rewrite this now. Negative 3q plus 60 minus 7q plus 14 is equal to negative 12 times 21 is negative 252. Now this looks a lot simpler to solve, doesn't it? All we need to do now is we need to figure out how to rearrange this equation so that we can just have Q on the left side of the equation and everything else on the right side of the equation. So I'm going to do that on the next page. Okay, so here it is. Again, we have our left side of the equation and we have our right side of the equation. So the first thing we want to do is we want to combine like terms. I have a negative 3q and I have a negative 7q. I'm going to put these terms together, negative 3q, take away 7q, okay? And on the right side, I have negative 252. Now I want to get rid of this plus 60, okay, because I can't add that to my variables. The opposite of plus 60 is take away 60, so that's how I get rid of it. So I need to take away 60 from the right side. And then I have this plus 14. The opposite of plus 14 is take away 14. Again, I'm doing the opposite operation. I'm getting rid of it. So if I take 14 away from the left side, I have to take 14 away from the right side. Okay, now all I have to do is simplify. Combine your like terms. What's negative 3? Take away 7. That would be equal to negative 10q. And then on the right side, I have negative 52, take away 60, take away 14. When we calculate that, we get negative 326. Final step, I have negative 10q, so negative 10 multiplied by q. Opposite of multiplication, division. If I divide it by itself, reduces to 1, and I'm just left with q. But if I divide the left side by negative 10, what do I have to do to the right side? That's right, divide by negative 10. Negative 326 divided by negative 10, negative and a negative equals a positive. 326 divided by 10 is 32.6, and that is the final answer. Q is equal to 32.6.